Former Vice President Mike Pence spoke at the University of Virginia Tuesday night amid speculation he's eyeing a White House run in 2024. Pence's speech was part of a nationwide tour of college campuses. His appearances have been focused on fighting this so-called woke left. UVA is located in Charlottesville, where violence did break out between white nationalists and counter-protesters in 2017, ending with the death of Heather Heyer. CBS News spoke with Pence's former chief of staff about whether the former vice president would address those deadly demonstrations in his remarks.
I think that it's possible it comes up, Bob. I think that it was a tragic day, obviously. The vice president took a moment today to go down and visit the mall where Heather Heyer was slain and to sign the wall where it's a public plaque to her in honor of her life and memory. And so that was part of his visit today as well.
CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa joins me now for more from Charlottesville. Thank you so much for being with us, Robert. We appreciate it. How would you say Pence's appearance was received by Virginia residents as well as UVA students?
The crowd inside this hall here at the University of Virginia was mostly conservative. It was an event hosted by Young America's Foundation, a longstanding conservative group that brings conservative speakers like former Vice President Mike Pence to college campuses, not only here at UVA or across the country. Pence has been affiliated with YAF, this group, Young America's Foundation, since he left the White House in January 2021. And this is part of Pence's political tour. He's been visiting several college campuses. He was received warmly by the ticketed crowd here, hosted by the conservative group. But there were protesters outside who called him various names in a critical way for associating with Donald Trump as a key loyalist, his vice president, and for promoting the Trump agenda.
It is an interesting backdrop when you look at the history of the area in 2017 and all that occurred there. You know, we were talking a little bit earlier. It sounds like he was not apologetic at all about not only eyeing 2024 as a presidential run, but really that's what he's focused on.
He is moving towards 2024. He embraced the Trump agenda in every sense here in his speech tonight. It just ended a couple hours ago. And what you see from Pence is someone who, on one level, is on the white nationalist front, going to visit the Heather Heyer Memorial. That was a bit of news shared by Mark Short, his longtime advisor, in the clip just a few seconds ago. But notably, he did not go into any discussion here tonight about the Charlottesville episode in 2017, that deadly attack, such a tragedy to see Heather Heyer killed as when a white nationalist ran over her and other protesters in the area here called the Downtown Mall. So Pence, as ever, is navigating his own political terrain in his own way, not apologizing, but not always saying that Trump is the best thing that ever happened. He's trying to carve his own political lane. We'll see if voters in Virginia and elsewhere find it politically appealing or not. And this is part of a contender possibly figuring out, does he have an audience should he decide to run in 2024?
You know, his appearances, we talked about this at the beginning of the segment, are focused on fighting the so-called woke left. Can you give us some more of the tone of the evening or some of the other bits that he was able to present there tonight?
He went right toward the culture wars here at the University of Virginia. He talked about a trans athlete at the University of Pennsylvania. He said that President Biden, in his efforts on trans issues, are off base. He was critical of President Biden. This is Pence, in a sense, echoing where many other major Republicans are on these issues. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has made similar comments in recent days. And the crowd here, the conservatives at least, seem to appreciate Pence's comment. And that shows you inside of the Republican Party, there is a large group potentially who want to see politicians like Mike Pence take on these issues. But like everything politically charged, you wonder, how does it play beyond these tight-knit groups of conservatives? How does it play in areas that are more moderate and centrist and center-left or progressive?
You know, we had this very violent attack happen Tuesday in New York City. Was there any mention of that or discussion about some of the conditions there in the city?
Briefly, but this was a speech that was mostly scripted, but that's similar to ones Pence has given before. What stood out also at the end during the Q&A period is the former vice president was asked, if one of your children came to you and said they were gay, what would you say to them? His response was, I would say to them, I love them. And he said, I would look them in the eye and say, I love you. But notably, after he made that statement about expressing love to a child in that situation, he detailed his own position on marriage, which he said he believes should be between a man and a woman. And that got a more muted response from some of the students here. But it shows you that Pence, even as he addresses his own children in that hypothetical question with love, he's still sticking to his conservative position on marriage. And that's revealing of who Mike Pence is personally and politically.
Yeah, having to navigate that there. Before I let you go, several of the former vice president's aides have been cooperating with House committee investigating January 6th. Did Pence mention anything about the attack or the investigation in his remarks?
He did not, but Mark Short, we pressed the longtime Pence advisor on January 6th during our CBS News interview. Short noted that he has cooperated with the January 6th committee, but made no promises about Pence sitting down, whether he gets a subpoena or not, with the January 6th committee. This will be a decision the committee has to make in the coming weeks. Will it call a former vice president to testify about private conversations with the sitting president of the United States at the time? And that's a complicated question, not only politically but legally and constitutionally for the committee. I know, based on our reporting, they're weighing that at this moment. And we're going to have to just wait and see whether that subpoena is ever issued for Pence, if at all. But for now, the committee is trying to piece together the Pence side of the story by inviting many of his aides to come in and chat.
We'll see what happens. Robert Costa, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.